decent beings in the universe. It's kind of my thing. If you're not familiar with me, it's kind of my thing. It's kind of what I do and what I say. Okay. And there's an inside joke to that because, what person walking don't really consider themselves as a decent person? But then you find out, you always hear stories ends up in the news and everybody's gasping for their pearls when they get some truths that were long buried, okay? Long buried. But we're not going to get into all of that. The reason I say that is because anybody who sees the video, I do honor you if you are actually a decent being. Okay? I honor you for watching, and then may you be well if that's you. What I'm going to talk about is the isolation protocols, but I'm going to talk about it from the perspective of what it looks like in terms of real time and how it plays out. The reason I want to do that is because you'll hear folks that may come across my content and other content creators that think we're nothing but a bunch of quacks or conspiracy theorists, or they have a vested interest in perpetuating that story. Either way. Okay. And you'll hear a statement like, what is that? What is that? What are you talking about? What do you mean? It's crazy. Isolation protocol, nobody, right? So let me help you. If the goal, no matter how hidden it may be, if the goal is to have somebody to be isolated in a certain area, a certain location with certain individuals, the protocol looks like this. Relatives, friends, family members are all instructed or told stories and narratives that would cause people to not want to engage or interact with the target. The target gets used to this. The target themselves are weary of folks because it's like, if they, why were people okay with certain things? And if people are okay with certain things, then maybe it's something wrong with the whole goddamn thing. Okay? Why were they okay with it? But this is to create a sense and a feeling of isolation and aloneness with the target. But the people that are a part of the stuff, like, we are all talking, we're together, we're chatting, we know each other, we're friends, we're family, and we're all ganging up against you. The protocol looks like smear campaigns. The isolation protocol looks like, in real time, whether that's in person, email, text message, heard through the grapevine, whatever means and methods, the isolation protocol, that's what it looks like. It is not an official document. Big brother in black and white, black suits and black glasses. It's regular folks. Patriarchs and matriarchs of families. Groups. Dynamics. Okay? That has agreed, okay, on a story. And then it goes from here to here. And then it creates the isolation. That is the isolation protocol. Because folks who don't have their own discernment, they don't think for themselves, or whatever the case may be, then they lean into that. And then these people become weary of talking to the person. Now, sometimes they'll talk, it's for intel, to gather information. They'll initially talk for intel, to gather information, and to manufacture that person that's being isolated to be forced into a certain scenario. Then, in that scenario, then there are psychological, subconscious buzzwords, phrases, statements, and discussions that's all designed. It's all designed. Oh, blah, 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 blah. And these are all people that target, as they have been experiencing the things that they've experienced, have attempted, because everybody says, well, how come? Targets are doing something different now. But that's the how come Nobody, they should have stayed connected. They should have stayed connected. Nobody told them to isolate. That's the isolation protocol. Okay? To get the target to feel like, okay, why are people being weird? Why do people need to have a group chat text message and get a clearance to talk? Why would people respond and then not respond? It's eerie, it's off, it's not natural. It's not natural. Anybody with intelligence can pick it up. It's not natural. That's not regular. Now, sometimes it's brushed off like, oh, that's just, they always, they got intel. But if they really cared, now follow me. The reason why things are going to happen the way they're going to happen is because the stories with this isolation protocol targeting individuals it is them. The story is this. It's them that just runs off for no reason. The world don't know what the fuck actually be going. But that's the story. It's them that runs off for no reason. It's them that stops talking for no reason. It's them that going through something and it's what they do and they isolate. It's them that they're the ones that don't want connections. They're the ones that's funny and sometimey. They're the ones, right? You funny and sometimey, all right? Because people be on that stuff. But the world don't know that. That's the isolation protocol. So if you have to play this out, if you're somebody who is really truly not in the know and really truly not involved and really truly don't have like said issues with the target, the only thing that I can offer is practicality. That's all I got. If you are a person that people are believing a story and narrative about you without having balls, without having the gall to actually talk to you, and not on that BS talk, intel, collecting information, playing stupid, but without all of that. If that were you, okay, and this is something that's happening, the isolation is really not your choice. The isolation it's a forced isolation protocol via gossip, via smear campaign. The target speaks their truth. The target suffers for the truth. See, that's something that the target learns. That this world is not set up. Too many people are comfortable in the dysfunctionality. And they'd rather scapegoat the one who receives the brunt of the losses and the abuse than to have to address and correct real issues. Than to have to face the fact that nothing in your family, baby, is what you think. Maybe there is a little bit more secrets from your children to your cousins, to your nieces, to your aunties, to your nephews, to your grandmama, to your in-laws, your outlaws, your down the street laws, to all of it. Sometimes people go down some dark paths while singing the Hallelujah chorus all at the same time. Sometimes people, listen, this is not about judgment. Something I'm coming to accept, and I think that many of the targets are here. It's saddening. It's sad because it's like, well, that's this world. That's it. You go in certain places, Vegas is brutal. Vegas will eat you and chew you alive, and many came here, and that's exactly what happened, and they ended up in cults. And I'm talking, sometimes it's the young people. We always think it's, you just, sometimes it's who you least expect. Sometimes it's who you least expect. Sometimes it's the young one that seem to be, sometimes it's who you least expect. But here's my point. Vegas will chew you alive. If you ain't a sorry son of a bitch, let me tell you. If you ain't a slithery, snaky, skimy, skanky, shady, shiesty motherfucker, Vegas will eat you alive. The target accepts this and realizes that there are many people who end up out here, and that's the form of selling your soul. You know something ain't right. You know something ain't just. You know something ain't fair. You know something is foul and off its two left shoes. But hey, I got kids. I got grandkids. I got a mortgage. Better them than me. So then they'll participate out of survival. There are people who will consciously and actively participate because of the statement I just said. But that, again, those are things that the world is never going to know, because that's not something that somebody wants to put on their social resume. People, wake up. What the fuck? Where the fuck you been? Ain't nobody trying to put that on their social resume. I'm a trader, bitch. No, nobody ain't doing that. That's not fitting, especially for somebody that is looked upon in a certain light. The isolation. The one that receives abuse gets triple abuse. See, that's the thing. So when that person attempts to connect and tell their story, they're met with gaslighting, they're met with triangulation, they're met with, some cases, downright denial, because they themselves are under some kind of an illusion and so forth. But that's a part, all interwoven into project isolation, to get the person to feel hopeless, to get the person to feel ganged up upon. Oh, we wouldn't do such a, yes, they would do such a thing. The target is used to the aloneness. This is something that ends up working in their favor. It's also something that people don't foresee. But because when you get this way, you ain't got to be a sellout. You don't have to sell your blood and the seed from your loins. Compromises is one thing. Being willing to do foul shit to somebody intentionally, that's another. Now, in my case, my approach is going to be different, but I still have to tell the story at the same time. And many targets have to find creative ways to do it, because, again, the running theme is they're the ones that don't want to be bothered by nobody. They're the ones that refuses to talk. They're the ones that they're out there because they want to be out there. They have somebody, they have family. But what they don't know, yeah, try that again. What they don't know, what they don't know is this. When the target makes an executive decision, some targets have to do this. There are targets that are single and without children. They have a lot more they can be a whole lot more rogue, okay? Because it's like they own their own, they ain't got no char, you know what I'm saying? Nobody codependent, and so they can, they can slum it, baby. They can slum it, baby. Okay? And the world's still gonna talk about that, still gonna try to, typecast that and create some kind of label even on that, okay? Because it's not fitting the bill, right? But the targets, the vulnerable population that have children or offspring, they get to a point they have to face an executive decisions. They know that they're trying to rip them and their families apart. You can have a third grade education and you can, Ray Charles nigga can see that shit on the wall. Okay? Can see that shit. They're trying to pick apart their parenting, overly scrutinized. And these are some of the same people, like I said, some of the same people really should hang up that job. Okay? Just saying. These are people that, again, they have group efforts of doing what you do alone. So they don't get a vote. Now, I say that in that way because it's like, it doesn't make sense to me when I break down logical thinking and a matter of fact thing. I'm like, it does not math. That math to me. If I'm somebody and I have a support circle of 10, but I'm trying to evaluate and judge somebody who has a support circle of 0, that doesn't math to me. I can't hold myself in pride. Like, look at me. I have a support system of 10. I might fall apart if somebody were to rip off from me. I don't know. I only have theory. So the executive decision for the targets that's like, okay, the writing's on the wall. We are in danger either way. So we're going to shit on this one right here because we're in danger either way. Whether or not the world knows, we know. And our children know. So this is when the world will be faced with having to face the truth when the target gets to this phase. Oh, you should just call. You have a cousin. You have nobody ain't trying to, we want you safe. Do you? Do you? You want our safety? But it's going to force the world to look at perhaps maybe the whole system, their whole nuclei here is not what you think. Do you? Do they? Or when you get behind closed doors, it looks one way, and then maybe in some cases, listen, this stuff is subtle. Because it keeps the target on the go, on the move. I'm gonna say a name of a store, and it's meant for something to somebody. 7-Eleven. But back to what I'm saying. That's totally non-related to this video. But just in case, I'm just saying 7-Eleven. Maryland Parkway. Oh, man, I can't even see the screen. Okay, because my battery's going out. Okay, but the point that I'm making is, and please, if this doesn't apply, let it fly. But this has to be said because, again, the story of the targets is they're just road runners, flighty, on the move. They don't. They're extreme. They're tripping, and they're so freaking stubborn. They own one, or everything that ain't true. They rather this than that. Okay, but now when you call people out, see, this is where it's gonna get interesting. We wouldn't want to see it, yeah. But they know what your situation is. And when you talk to them, we're not talking about, putting responsibility. That's not what this discussion is. This discussion is not about who's responsible for it. I'm simply acknowledging and addressing the common thing that targets experience and was a part of the whole smear campaign and isolation protocols and people acting funny, weird and strange, like they can't talk to them, like I don't know what the fuck. Something ain't right about that. It's off. Is it because of what the ones who claim to want to help is saying about them to others, which puts a forced isolation to only be able to deal with them? Because that's a form of it. Make it seem like the person is such a problem, so no one else other than them. What's going to happen? The world is going to be forced to see that perhaps is not all the target. People want to push them towards folks you can't make. It's a part of why they are loners in the first place. You cannot make people love you. You cannot make people respect you. You cannot make people accept your uniqueness without needing to classify it as something because it bothers them. You can't do it. If folks cared about the target, look, this is some old timey talk. Nigga, the proof is in the pudding, nigga. Okay? Talk is cheap. Just like I could sit here and tell you how much I love you and I can cry crocodile tears, but if at the end of the day I'm willing to hurt you, if at the end of the day I'd rather see you struggle and suffer so I can feel better about myself, if at the end of the day I say I want to support you and help you, and I do, but I bitch and moan and complain and I talk about you behind your back, if at the end of the day do they really care then? Have you ever, whoever you are, maybe you've been privileged and blessed enough to never have to, but to those of you, have you ever experienced something to where somebody helped you? And this is not referencing, I need to specify because people go somewhere in their mind. This is actually general in this second, this moment, okay? The moment that I'm speaking, what I'm saying to you. Have you ever experienced where somebody, whether it is they gave you some money or they called in a favor for you or they let you lay on their couch, just any kind of situation where somebody was they offered assistance, they wondered why you didn't ask for assistance, they were there and you're like, okay, and all that. But once you get there, then it's like there's these subliminals, this, you hear, but they sure are reminding you every 3 minutes of how to be somewhere else. Not that you're not already doing that yourself. So it's sending the message that, see, these are indirect ways. Because most of us, we know. You know how to search online. Some of you are tech whizzes and shit. So these are ways to, sometimes could be construed as ways to look helpful, but it's also to send a vibe like, hurry up. On the surface, like, of course, of course. The target is approaching things different because they realize like, oh, okay. Okay. To not be quick, especially if they're a parent, because their parenting is under false scrutiny. So it's like, okay, they need to, because they're just willing to walk up and down the street, and that's not, we're concerned. We're concerned about their safety. We're concerned about their safety. Are you? Are they? Are they? I've spoken to several people in me and my son's ordeal. In spite of the rumors, my nose ain't in the air. And I'm not too proud. My parenthood it trumps everything in my life, and it always has. And I think this is some stuff that ticks some people off because they know that's true. It always has, especially when I became older. When I was young, I got a shit ton of regrets that I hate and loathe entirely. In my 30s, that I loathe because my decisions affected my son. That includes moving to Vegas, by the way. Ever, not just this time. Affected him in ways that I don't know if it will ever be fully repaired, because he was much better off long before we ever came here. Now, now things were happening, yes, but I'm just speaking facts. Vegas is a place where kill or be killed. If you want to make it, your ass is supposed to do some weird and scur shit. You want to be pretty and you didn't feel pretty before? You want, all these things. Well, what are you going to do for it? We can help you. That's what it is, baby. You don't trust me? Ask around. And they look at folks like my son, and anybody with a damn spine, and anybody with any kind of a unique trait that walked to a beat of a different drum as a direct threat and problem. And then there's big ticket money that's put on the heads of folks like me and my son. But let's get back to the topic. That's how some people surviving now. Entrapment deals. But let's focus. And they cool with that. That's why I'm like, the world ain't what we think it is, because the people are actually cool with that. They laugh and eat chicken, ice cream, and doing all kinds of shit, and they think it's cool. Their conscience is not one bit bothered by their behavior. Not even the least bit. And a part of the cover-up is overexertion of appearing to be helpful in other ways. But that's the world's cover-up too. If we think about it, if we look in politics, if we look in different arenas, the writing is on the wall. It's rarely people who look like they would be horrible. It's rarely people who who's got the clear rap sheet is usually people who may appear to be the polar opposite of what they are. Because that is the cover. That's the cover. That's the cover story. That's the alibi. Duh. Would you think I was a slut if I had on all things non-sluttish? Would you believe I was a slut if I refused to wear any provocative clothing? If all of my clothing was 3 sizes too big? If you couldn't see skin except for the skin on my face? If that? If I never speak, or at least not in the presence of many? And somebody came up to you and said, oh my God, that's so-and-so. Yeah, they, that's their, even if they wasn't judgy about it, they're just saying, oh yeah, like they're a worker. Okay. So no shade, because I ain't slut shaming. That ain't my game. Okay. But let's say that's what somebody said. Would you believe it? Answer truthfully. Would that be the first thought that automatically clicks in you? Just boom, right away. You'll size up. Your natural human thing is going to size it up. And you're going to be like, nah, that's God. Nah, she ain't even showing no skin. She's talking about she a slut. She don't even show no skin. She not a slut. Look at her. Her clothes too big. We don't even know if she even got a shape in now. But does it mean that that's true? No, I said that to help somebody. No. Often, these things are the alibi. This is also why the isolation protocol works, because I do need to wrap it up and tie it in. The isolation protocol works because the narratives on all ends have been manufactured. The ones to create a narrative about the target being fickle, fly, crazy, tripping, extra, and the narrative of the others being loving, caring, stable, there, not understanding. But maybe every time the target ran or left is because of truth. People making sure you're uncomfortable. People making sure they're sending the subliminal message to you that they want you gone. My son, even, he says stuff. If people will catch it, and I catch it, because I'm like, without me saying a goddamn thing. So before people can say, oh, I'm not. I'm actually working in the other way, because at the end of the day, I'm responsible to do what I can within my means to not have him in some institution where God knows what the fuck, or out somewhere walking the street. That's the priority. So I'm actually working in the other way to keep him calm, to do everything out, no matter how uncomfortable I am, no matter what, no matter how exhausted I am, no matter what I know, no matter what, I'm doing what I can to be helpful wherever I land. This is what y'all gonna find out about the target. Wherever they land, the truth. This is going to be seen and revealed one way or the other. Trying to make yourself useful, because this is legit. That's sincere. That's not a show. That's not a game. That's actually legit. to be helpful, because that's gratitude. That's, even if you know there's something else to it, it's still gratitude. Because again, at the end of the day, it ain't, not me. If it was just me, but at the end of the day, him. So trying to make sure he's comfortable, trying to make sure I make any kind of adjustment because of him. All that comes with all things being a mom, and all things being a mom of someone that's like my son, and all things considering, from the means in which we stand, trying to make myself useful. Sincerely. And keep him calm. So I'm not provoking, the targets aren't provoking their children to think and feel a certain kind of way. Actually, they're trying to help them, like, okay, hey, let's be grateful. Do you want to, the alternative is walk the streets, Nick. So what you want to do? Doing the best of, the song, making the best of your situation. Okay, so we're still, but this time it's going to reveal. Because why do people get strange and weird? Why do you have to hunt people down? Why aren't they talking? And why are they all trying to direct you back to one person in a very weird, culty kind of way? That's off. That's not normal. But it's okay. Whatever ends up happening to the targets and their children, the collective, this time the world's going to have to be forced to look at the truth that they have refused to believe up to this point. Because sometimes it ain't about the targets trying to run nobody's life, run nobody's household. Ain't nobody doing that. Ain't nobody ever been doing that. Ever. Nobody ain't feeling entitled to nobody's car. Ain't nobody ever been that. Ever. This is the thing. See, this is the stuff people are going to be forced to look at. I mean, that's what I'm saying. The targets are making themselves as useful as they can, even exerting above, because it's like every little thing is scrutinized. Oh, people are useful, but then they're bitching and moan. They're helpful, but then they bitch and moan about it. Rumors, gossip. And then sometimes putting extra and stank on it, and some stuff that ain't even entirely the targets or their children's in some cases. This is what convolutes things. The targets try to, okay, I'm here, I'm there. Somebody, whether they're paying, in some cases where they didn't pay for a room or whatever the case, all these things to show, okay, we're just not here to be a problem. What can we do? What can we do? So it's this, okay? We want to clean up, okay, what? Try to stay out of people's way. People gravitate to them, not the other way around. Just making it clear. Try to, because people have their lifestyles that they're used to. Target's got enough maturity to know that. It's like, okay, we're not here to do that. We're already here, but we're going to try to be, especially if you don't have your own space, as virtually possible. Because people got their lives and their families and their routines. Targets know this. The narrative is to make the targets look so unstable. such an extent to where they're just volatile. They're just popping off, at the left field for no reason. And they're just, now the targets are gonna, listen, the world is gonna know the truth, one way or the other. But a part of that is the target has to adjust, realizing that, oh, okay, yeah, I see it. I see it all. I see the isolation protocol. I see the weirdness. I see people acting like they can't respond. They talk to you on the phone for 30 minutes. All of a sudden, they acting funny. I see the right and all. And then the people that they're talking acting funny, that's got them acting funny, talking to you like they don't understand. But targets feel, what the world needs to know is this: they have they bleed red, and so does their children. And just like everyone else gets tired, just because they're in a situation that they land in that's been created or whatever, it doesn't mean that they don't still get tired. Tired is not something that you're granted just because you've weaseled your way into seemingly success or stability. Tired, some of them are parenting, real parenting, and parenting long past their parenting years, and dealing with things that, again, no violin, but let's not pretend. Don't pretend that it's not a thing. And when those disabled children then been abused too, on top of whatever the hell was already wrong with them, thanks to certain motherfuckers. Sometimes the targets, listen, they grow okay with a lot of shit because it's like this. They have a bandwidth like everybody else. They're expending their energy trying to create a better reality for themselves and their children, as well as trying to constantly manage. Like my case, I have to manage in some cases, especially when you're in other people's environments. That's a full-time goddamn job. Meanwhile, I need to be on my feet and thinking and researching and reaching out to people and clear mind and body and all of those things. Okay? Working with what I've got. That's what the targets are doing. Work with what they've got and what they don't got. No privacy, no serenity. Working with trying to manage, like my son, because he's got the normal stuff, and then he's got his stuff, and then he's got the other stuff all in one, and how it's affecting him all in one. And sometimes we're just tired because guess what? We bleed. Sometimes it ain't about being funny. Sometimes it ain't about being funny style. Sometimes we too, like everybody else get to gripe and complaining about, sometimes we too. And for many of us, been out here on these here streets with the walking dead. While people sit back in their pretension making judgments. With they know going through shit ass. And have the presumption to make a judgment about something that they don't have the jurisdiction to make the goddamn judgments about. Now, it ain't always the targets, baby. The targets do separate and until they are forced. And then they lean into the hornet's nest. The hornet's nest. The world and people do not get to experience. I don't know why this is something I even have to say with my mouth. I don't know why I have to say it. Because to me, it's basic. Just like I know there are things and I don't know and see everything. There are things that are happening in other people's household. I'm not there. I don't know. I can't say that. I can't say what's happening 24 goddamn 7 if my black ass ain't sitting there 24 goddamn 7. So this is what makes me a little perturbed, because I'm like, to me, that's common sense. Nobody could speak with certainty like that. You leave. I don't care if you've gone for 8 hours a day. You gone for that 8 hours. I don't care if you're gone for 3. You're gone and you don't know. The target accepts that the world at large is governed in this whole respect. So this is why they're taking on another approach, true, noble, in the name of honoring their children. Because for some of us out here, for some of these targets, whether this is somebody you're thinking of, they're not safe either way it goes. They go to the so-called shelters, air quote, that you can't see me doing. Either way it go. So if they're roaming the streets, they're not safe. They're going to the shelters, they're not safe. If they go to some people's homes, so what they have decided, not because they're saying that, oh, I'm wrong about everything. No, they're accepting that they're wrong about some things, but they're not wrong about the main important things. And they are prioritizing, like, okay, they're stronger, they have more wisdom, they have more knowledge, more access in terms of within themselves to handle than they did before. And that's what it is. But they're isolated because people have basically smear campaigned them and convinced the world stuff that's not true, stuff that in some cases is flipped. The stories and narrative is flipped. And all these people not having the balls, the gumption, the heart to sincerely, with wanting to understand, not on an agenda, seek and be open to a truth that maybe their subconscious and programming and familiarity won't allow them, because they have not experienced certain things. This is why the target stops trying. They expend their energy trying to take care of them and their damn children. Wake up, people.